It has really been quite a day. Thanks so much for engaging with us through this and really being, so participatory and active and helping this be one of the kind of most fun days I've had in really thinking about what's going on in tutoring and what we can do in the next stage. I hope it's been rewarding for you so far, and we do have this, which is we are talking as our closing time, but after this we'll have a really nice time outside, or if it gets chilly, inside with food and drinks, but we also have these tables of different groups that are being set up, so there'll be a learning gallery there for you to participate in, and I hope that the conversations that we started today can really continue out here. I know a number of you think, well, it was so intense, I wish I had a little bit of time just to chat with some people or think it through. That's the time that we're going to have after this, and I really hope that you participate in it and get the most out of it. I'd like to open it up to get some perspectives on the day and start by hearing from some of you about what you got out of the day, and in particular, we've asked a representative from each of 4 groups, from the provider group, teachers, researchers, and districts, to tell us some takeaways from today about how to build high-impact tutoring into our education system. And we're going to hear from them and then open it up for your thoughts as well. So I'd like to start with Mindy. Mindy Schobloom is the founder and CEO of On Your Mark, a virtual early learning tutoring program currently serving 1,400 K-12 students in Texas and New York. So Mindy, what are 3 takeaways from today?
I was thinking, especially throughout the last couple sessions, about what my 3 takeaways would be for today. I could really boil them up into 3, I think, pretty simple, but for me, incredibly meaningful ones. And the first one was to refuse to operate from a space of fear moving out of today. The second one, and I'll get into these in just a little bit, the second one is to do more now. And then finally, to figure out how I can be a part as a tutoring provider of elevating the successes in this room. And those are the 3 things. Just real quickly, let me describe what they mean. So first, we know that tutoring works. We don't need to operate from out of a space of fear from that. We don't need to operate out of a space of fear when it comes to the ESSER cliff, when it comes to AI. High-impact tutoring works. And to Commissioner Schwinn's point earlier this morning, the focus right now is how, not if. And that's what was so exciting about being in this room with all of these folks today, for me, is that I know we don't need to be afraid because we are a part of a story that is really going to change the way that students are getting individualized instruction across this country. And so I'm choosing today to not move forward out of a place of fear of what's next. And then the second thing, we also talked about, when we're thinking about not operating out of fear, we talked about ESSER as a window. Really, it's a window that we have right now. And I want us to really think about, and I'm going to think about, not focusing on the window closing and the fact that that window is going to be closing in front of us in the times ahead, but that it's open right now. That window is open, which means that we have an opportunity to do more now. A good friend and counselor of mine recently asked me just last week, well, what's your growth plan over the next 3 to 5 years? And I went through it and I said, we're going to serve this many students. And she goes, well, why not more? And I didn't have a good answer to that question. And so I am choosing, just in the different inspiration that I've taken from other groups today and districts who are really committed to doing this right, and researchers who want to help us do that, to make a commitment to do more now. And also, in the last session that I was in, Luke Colmus from Accelerate, are you in here, Luke? Hi, Luke. See, I know you get to be my person. He said something in particular that really stuck with me when I'm thinking about doing more now. And he said, figure out what you're a badass at, and then go do a lot more of that. And I'm really excited to isolate that. So thank you for those words. And then finally, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening in this room. And there are many stories that I did not know about. I got to sit, I know many of you in this room did as well, and listen to the wonderful work that Katie Pace-Miles at CUNY in New York is doing to be able to support early literacy for students across all of New York. And then Chapter 1 in Broward County. These were stories I didn't know about. We have the responsibility to each other to be able to lift one another up and tell those stories and get really excited for each other. Because I think often as providers, and to a point that was also made on the last panel, we get put into this false sense of competition with one another. I also look around this room, there are probably, I counted, maybe around 70 providers in this room. And even if each of us served 10,000 children tomorrow, that would only be 700,000 kids. We are not in competition with each other. We can only help each other get better and stronger. And I'm so grateful for the relationships that have been forming here to be able to be on that journey together. So thank you, Susanna, and all the folks at NSSA for bringing us together accordingly. Appreciate it.
That was really terrific. I'm gonna remember those comments, so thank you. Okay, so now turning to researchers, warm to my heart. If any of you have read meta-analyses on tutoring, it tends to come from JPAL and from Vincent Kwan, along with Phil Oriopoulos, who you also heard from earlier. Vincent is the co-executive director of JPAL North America, where he leads the office's efforts to reduce poverty by ensuring that policy is informed by rigorous evidence. Vincent, we'd love to hear your takeaways too. And you have a mic, so we're on top of it.
Sounds good. Well, first of all, I want to thank the NSSA team for organizing today. I just give Suzanne and the whole NSSA team a round of applause.
Thank you.
It's just a massive, massive undertaking, and I think bringing everybody into the room today is such a huge success and enables us to make really meaningful progress. So I have three main takeaways that I wanted to share. I think, first of all, I was really reflecting on how impressive it is how much this group collectively has been able to do in the past year. I remember last year during the conference when it was still at Brown, we were all talking about how do we seize on this particular opportunity and make sure that we bring high impact tutoring to scale. And it's so evident from the conversations and presentations today how much has actually been accomplished over the past year. Whether or not it is Tennessee being able to actually sustain tutoring by permanently including it in the budget, and a lot of the new tutoring innovations that have taken place, whether or not it is creative ways to think about scheduling, really interesting and creative ways to think about recruitment and training of tutors, new uses of technology to expand access to tutoring to kids who really need it. And I think another thing that we as a group have also realized over the past year is just how hard it is to actually implement tutoring. It takes more than just passing the money and getting tutoring programs off the ground. It requires a lot of hard work and ongoing efforts to ensure that tutoring is implemented well. And I actually think it's a really big accomplishment that we as a tutoring ecosystem recognize this to be the reality and are trying really innovative things to be able to bring tutoring to scale and to really pay attention to the successful implementation of tutoring. And a recognition of a lot of these challenges leads to development of new and really promising solutions. I think another takeaway that I had was a lot of the big questions around technology. I know this has been an ongoing theme related to tutoring, but I think especially in the past several months, you can't have a conversation about tutoring without the inevitable question of, well, what is ChatGPT potentially going to do? Or how might we leverage AI? And I think especially from the research community, this presents a really exciting and promising opportunity to understand how these types of new technologies can really augment the tutors that we already know to be effective and help to bring something like tutoring to scale. There are a lot of open questions, which of course bring a lot of concerns and risks, but at the same time, also a lot of promising potential. And then I think the third key takeaway is the value of ongoing collaboration. Like last year, I found this day to be so inspiring, not only from the presentations and panels, but also from the individual conversations that I had with people at tables, between bathroom breaks, or grabbing lunch. And there's so much exciting work that is happening that begs for more collaboration, whether or not it's collaboration between district leaders and folks at the state level, providers and researchers, or also different researchers that might have complementary areas of expertise. And I think there's so much value in this ongoing sharing of knowledge. For example, I know when Susanna had put together that compendium of ongoing research studies, just looking at what everybody is working on was incredibly valuable, at least for the folks on the JPAL team, to just understand what's the landscape of what people are working on with research and what are the potential opportunities for collaboration. So those are a couple of my takeaways.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now let's turn to teachers. I'm so glad that Shane Turano has been with us here today. I can't see where. There you are, Shane. Shane has taught science at East Windsor Regional School District in Hightstown, New Jersey for over a decade and provides really invaluable guidance to our tools and materials as an active member of our tutoring advisory group. And I want to thank the whole tutor advisory group, but I'm really interested, Shane, in what you're taking away from today.
One of the things that we were asked were, what are the 3 takeaways we need to build high-impact tutoring into our education for the long run, okay? So the biggest thing here is that there needs to be enough change in the whole system of education so that high-impact tutoring is integrated into the day. It can't just be an add-on, because add-ons come and go. And this is something that I think we can all agree, based on the research, based on what we've seen, has to stay. So the question becomes, well, how do we make sure that this is sustainable, that it stays around? And I think that we've kind of seen 3 things come over and over again, right? We need to secure staff, we need to maintain budget, and advocacy. So I'm going to hit those 3 points real quick and kind of summarize what all the great minds in this room have pulled together for today. So Commissioner Schwinn, Ms. Freeman, Ms. Lake, they all spoke on these things, that there needs to be a reconfiguration of the schedule, a redeployment of educator talent pool, that it's about building the tutoring into the daily lives of these students. It's not just supposed to be this highlighted bit of like a quick spotlighting, a quick snapshot for these students. It's supposed to be something that supports them through their lives, that gives them something that is completely different than anything else that they've seen before. And that's what makes high-impact tutoring so valuable here. It's about customizing your services as tutoring providers. It's about customizing the experience of the students. It's about customizing the experience of the teachers and the districts that you're working with. And that's what's going to make it stick around so that we see the results of high-impact tutoring. The second thing, securing money. So people will fund what is proven to work. That's why it takes so many types of stakeholders here to secure those funds that we need to keep this mission going. It's all about tracking the progress through the data, but here also attaching it to a student story. And that story needs to be, how have you changed the lives of these students? It's not just some number on a piece of paper. It's not just how you've measured your efficacy. It's about how you've changed their life for the better, how you've opened up doors to opportunities that they never would have had without you coming into their lives. So that personal level, that connection with the data, that's what speaks to teachers, and that's what speaks to districts, and that's what's going to make these programs stick around in the long run and continue to provide funds for these programs to work. And the third one, advocacy. So there's a reason that Commissioner Schwinn started off this morning with a call for you to choose a student and to maybe devote some time to tutoring so that you can personally feel what it feels like to belong in a student's life. We are humans, and part of our psychology is just that feeling of belonging. Everybody needs that feeling of belonging. And that's what drives us, and that's what makes us passionate about things. And people support things that they're passionate about. So advocacy is a huge part of what we're doing here. That if we want to see high-impact tutoring make it in the long run, that every day needs to be about creating something in these students' lives creating a space in their lives where you belong in it, where that tutoring belongs there, where they see the difference that you're making in their lives. So I think that will drive the passion for this to work in the long run, and every person involved in the work needs to feel that power of belonging in the students' world and feel how they've made that difference in their lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was terrific. So in addition to researchers and teachers and providers here, we're so lucky to have so many district leaders with us today. I'd love to get a district perspective from LaToya Blackshear. LaToya is the Director of Planning and Evaluation from Jackson Public Schools in Jackson, Mississippi, and they're really doing some incredible things with tutoring. So I really hope that not only do we hear her takeaways from today, but that you get a chance to look in and see what Jackson is doing, because it's really cool.
All right, so good evening, everyone. All right, so I want to also thank Nancy, Susanna, for also allowing me to share my takeaways. And it's interesting that my takeaway were very similar to yours, but so I won't repeat a lot of them. But it's interesting, over the past 2.5 months, I have learned so much about high-impact tutoring. And I didn't know as much about it. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's very new to me. But what I found is that I was telling Susanna, I'm very full. And I know it may look like I'm full from food, but it's not food. Today was a great session. We learned a lot, and it was just confirmed that in order for us to sustain it, number one, we have to have community engagement. It really made us think and put our heads together in regards to the directions we want to go with engaging the community. So we're looking at engaging the community several ways. So we're going to, using the information provided by Guilford and some other school districts, we're getting universities involved, using our students to become tutors, and we're thinking, okay, with that being said, we can come back some of the barriers that we also have in the district. So I'm looking at how can we utilize our community partners to also solve some of those barriers that we have. So we're looking at teacher recruitment. So some of those university teacher candidates that want to be a teacher, hey, we can employ you and probably think about some work study funds as well. Well, with our high school students, you can come and be a teacher as well, and that's some funding as well. That would also help our our students' attendance. I don't know how many of you all have a little concern with students coming to school, or that's just us. I'm sorry, it may be just us. So we're looking at ways, how can we leverage that to get you to come on in to be one of our tutors? Because that was another one of our takeaways, with securing some of our high school students to become tutors, we're not only building our social-emotional needs for our middle school who we're targeting, but that's also going to improve the tutors' social-emotional needs as well. So that was big for me as well. So our last takeaway kind of looks at about just planning, the importance of planning. Throughout every one of the sessions, everyone talked about it's hard. It's hard. Just making sure that it's hard. So we want to make sure that they was like, it's hard. And I was like, this will be our first time next year, this upcoming year, implementing it. So the planning process was one of our key takeaways, with the data collection, the funding, making sure we have the resources there and allocating the resources appropriately. And then the amount of hours, and then of course, we spoke a lot about buy-in from the parents, the students. So those are some of my takeaways. And then I'll leave you last with what the commissioner for Tennessee stated, which was one of my favorite as well. When you invest in something that works and it's done well, high-impact tutoring will work. So thank y'all so much for the opportunity.
Okay, so Mindy, Shane, Vincent, LaToya, thank you so much for that. I'd love to open it up if anyone else has thoughts that they would like to share with the group.
I'm Pete Lavarini with the Overdeck Family Foundation, and honestly, my takeaway from this is just an extreme sense of gratitude to everyone in this room. I mean, particularly to the NSSA team, but to the providers, to the teachers, to the districts. You know, I've been reflecting all day on, you know, Mindy, you mentioned operating from a position of fear, but really, what incredible progress has been made in just a few years of this space of high impact tutoring be around. And it's because of the dedication of the people in this room to making students' lives better. And we now know so much more about what it takes to make their lives better in terms of what it takes for them to read, what it takes for them to be ready for algebra, what it takes for schools and districts and communities to be devoted to making these students' lives better for their destiny. And it's because of the work of the people in this room, and I am so grateful for you. There's so much, and I'm grateful for you not being satisfied with the progress that we've made, and all of us knowing we have so much more to go. So from my perspective, thank you. Keep at it. Let us know how we can help, and things are gonna, we're on the up. We're on the up curve, guys. We're not in the downward. We're going upwards. So thank you, really, gratitude. Thank you all.
Courtney Richardson here from Memphis, Tennessee. Happy to be here. Come on, Tennessee in the house. You know, and I've had the opportunity to work with Penny Schwinn because she has come to Memphis to see our program. And so I can vouch for the fact that, you know how you go to keynote speeches sometimes and folks can say what they want in keynote and you don't know whether it's true or not. But it truly is true. She really is a champion for these types of programs. Few things that I'm taking away. Oh, I didn't say the organization is Peer Power Foundation. Few takeaways. One, this integration of AI in our tutoring services. I'm really taking that away. We're using it obviously in our meetings. Firefly, everybody's familiar with Firefly. Firefly, you can attend your meetings and they'll transcribe and take notes. And I was in a meeting, had a meeting, and Firefly told me my meeting was unorganized. My meeting was unorganized, and we could not create a timeline or whatever it was for your meeting because it appears that you all were just talking about random things. And I heard somebody say that, yeah, so that's AI. So I will figure out how to incorporate AI into our practices. And one of the things, and Dr. Mayor Grace is here, she's our training person. She's over our institute. But specifically, I'm looking at how we can use AI to record sessions that our tutors may present just to the computer as if they are tutoring, and letting that AI function score that tutor to see how well they did. So I'm thinking about implementing that. Let's do it together and let's do a study, somebody. And the other, say it again. Yeah, the other piece that I am going to take away is the NRCT, like really not being afraid to take these randomized samples to engage in the vulnerable work of our programs being looked at critically so that we could really say, this needs to be thrown away, this needs to be kept. Thank you. And I'm also taking away the relationships all the way from Tennessee SCORE, right? And then Shauna from North Carolina, and so many other folks that I met, including there's a lady here who worked 20 years in pharmaceuticals, and she did quality control in the pharmaceutical industry, and she's interested in bringing that experience, the quality control experience, to the tutoring sector. So I'm definitely going to partner with her. I'm taking that away. Thanks.
Thank you so much. At NSSA, we're excited to work together with you to bring high-impact tutoring and other more individualized learning to students in need. And I think we really are at this transition from what we've been calling high-impact tutoring to a broader view of what we can do just to assure that students have this individualized attention from an adult, but also maybe supported by technology so that they can catch up when they need to, re-engage in school, and really thrive. We've been taking notes on all these sessions today, and we're going to provide summaries on our websites in the coming week. We've learned a lot about next steps and what we need to do for sustainability and to make sure that students have access to this kind of relationship-driven, individualized academic supports. So from me, I just want to say thank you for all the work you do. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for continuing to work with us and to do the work you do to bring this to students, because I think this is a potential time for transformation, and I really, really hope we can do it. So enjoy the evening. Thank you for being here today.